Tv, formerly known as #CLB Live. I'm really excited to be facilitating not just this broadcast tonight, but this series of conversations that really are addressing things that I believe we should be focused on during these chaotic times. I pray that you had a restful and reflectful, is that a word? If it's not, I just made it up. Weekend, a holy weekend. We remember the reason for the weekend, right? It's the resurrection. It was definitely a holy time that we're living in. And isn't it ironic to see what's a flux in our environment, in our physical plane? So tonight I have the honor and pleasure of having a guest join me that I am just thrilled to have join me tonight. We're going to be touching on this topic of consciousness. If you weren't with me last week, if you're new to the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I really appreciate you coming back for more, honey, because I am definitely here for more. So before we dive into this conversation, before I introduce my guest to you, please allow me to help you feel welcome tonight. First and foremost, make sure you have a cup of something. There is no judgment as to what is in this cup. Mine happens to be PG tonight. It's lemon ginger tea. So let me know what's in your cup. There is no judgment because it's nighttime here on the East Coast, and my philosophy is it's 5 o'clock everywhere, somewhere at some time, right? So we are broadcasting one of two ways. So if you are watching via YouTube on clblive.tv, thank you so very much. You have a studio audience, if you will, seat, because you can participate in this conversation by commenting in the chat stream on YouTube. We can pull your contribution into the conversation and allow it to be a part of the energy that we're creating here tonight. You can also share online. Sharing is caring. You never know who you might impact just by sharing a nugget that you've heard on tonight's conversation. So please do so by using the hashtag CLB Live TV. You can do so on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I call them the Big Four. We're also broadcasting with my parent station, my sister station. I'm working in collaboration with Listen Vision Studios out of Washington, D.C. That is my love. That's my WLVS fam. And I want to thank PJ, who is always there, even during these times, helping us broadcast from home. So thank you to our engineer for that. And thank you to the Listen Vision family for providing a home for CLB Live and the audience. To those of you watching through WLVS, I see you. I may not be able to physically see you, but I can feel your energy. We are broadcasting right now to about 150 countries across the globe, and I am just honored to be a part of your space right now. You can also participate. If you're watching on Facebook, you can watch the stream there as well for WLVS. Just go to @WLVS Radio. You can also use the hashtag CLB Live TV, and I will be sure to follow up after the conversation, because these conversations start here, but they don't end here. They're ongoing on clblive.tv. Woo, that was a mouthful. I popped my own earpiece out. So we're going to dive into this conversation tonight. And the gentleman that is joining me tonight, I am so thrilled. I stumbled upon this book. Do you know how it is on the internet, guys? Stumbled upon this book, and it had all of these great reviews and comments. And when I looked at the Instagram profile, it was all these profound statements reminiscent of some of the thought leaders of yesteryear that I study, like Napoleon Hill, James T. Allen, Neville Goddard, just to name a few. It was along those lines. And so I was hooked. And I read that book within 24 hours from cover to cover. And I had to reach out and just thank this person for just putting such a powerful piece of material out into the stratosphere. He immediately responded, which let me know, okay, this is a real person. And that was a year ago. Fast forward to me coming off of this hiatus. Hey guys, I'm just coming back after 18-month hiatus. And I thought, this person is the perfect person, especially with what we're dealing with today. So the name of the book is called The New Religion. And I know that tonight's conversation is going to be provocative, and it's intended to be, because we're living in times where we need to start stimulating parts of our mind that may have been laying dormant. And it's very easy for events to overshadow this creative part of our mind, the conscious part of our mind. And so tonight we're going to dive into conversations along these lines. I'm going to share this with you so that you can just get a taste of what the pages of this book covers. So I'm going to share. I have a couple of highlights here on my Kindle. This one says, this work, this self-work that we're doing, the work that we're here to do to really push through and create the life that we want. That's my ad lib. So this work is predominantly mental. We will have to work ceaselessly to overcome previous dogmas, superstitions, and habitual negative moods and attitudes towards those things in our lives that we have not yet learned to intellectually process. And the reason I chose that particular quote out of his book, I believe it's from the introduction, is because we're living in times that we haven't dealt with ever, right? And so now more than ever is a time to challenge our thinking and challenge the way that our perspective of what's happening out here so that we can take proper action for the well-being of ourselves and our families. That was a whole lot of introduction for this gentleman. I'm going to bring him on the screen right now, Mr. Lincoln Parker, who is all shiny, shiny. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you today, my friend?
Good. That's just Palmer's oil, right? Face oil that I got on my face right now. That got me shining a little bit.
Well, you look. Go ahead.
I said I'm doing great.
Fantastic. It is an honor to have you join me tonight. I know that you are someone that typically stays in the background, not really being seen. So it means so much to me that you're showing your face tonight and sharing your love and your light and your energy. That Palmer's oil is just your light shining through, honey. So let's get into this conversation tonight. I like to always start with the person that I'm connected with, because it is our personhood that is greatness. And then everything we share is shining that light, that divine light that's coming through us. So let's talk about you a little bit. Who is Lincoln Parker? Where are you coming from? And where are you today? Where are you headed today?
Yeah, so the Lincoln Parker is just a gentleman who grew up in the Bronx, New York, oldest son of 5 children, right? Raised by a single mom. And I'm a guy who found myself always curious about how life actually works. And nothing that I learned from organized religion was sufficient enough to give me what I felt was going to answer those questions for me. So I decided to just keep digging, keep searching in order to find those answers. And I found them through guys that you mentioned, such as Neville Goddard, James Allen. Another guy who's been a huge influence on me is Dr. Joseph Murphy. So those are some people, just to name a few. Catherine Ponder. I can go on and on and on.
Yes.
But those are some of the people who started to open my mind to how we can answer some of these questions. And the more I studied it and the more I meditated on it, the more all of it began to make sense to me in a way where I could then take it and practically apply it to my life.
So you decided to take action on all the things that you were absorbing to basically bring you to the point you are at today.
Yes.
And man, I feel you on that, because there's just so much knowledge out there. And tonight, what I'd like to talk about, let me bring the both of our beautiful faces back up. What I'd like to discuss is this book that you brought to the table. This book is basically a collection of all of these thoughts and all this knowledge. I see your brother's on, by the way, Michael.
Oh my, Mike, what's up, bro? I love you so much.
And my girl Dwina is on, and we have a couple other viewers. But yeah, so let's talk about the new religion and what brought you to this point. This book was released, what, 2 years ago?
Yes.
2 years already, right?
Yeah.
So what led you to actually sit down, write this book, and collect these thoughts? What prompted you to do that?
It was, I like to look at it as it was just that time in my trajectory, right? On this path that I'm on, I believe that we're all uniquely designed to do one thing very well, and that is our gift that we're supposed to give back to existence. And what the genesis of it was me just being kicked out of every other world that I tried to fit myself into. And I saw something a while ago that said, if you don't feel like you fit in this world, it's because you're supposed to create a new one, right? So I set out on a path to start to create one for me that was in my own likeness and image. And so I had been compiling information and just feeding it to my subconscious mind. And my subconscious mind was processing this information and then putting it together in a way where I would be able to understand it. And what I realized was that I had to give this information back to people. Like, we can't just compile information and only keep it to ourselves.
Right.
We have to redistribute it back out into the world. So when I quit my job a couple of years ago and I'm asking myself, what am I going to do? I said, you've got to write this book. I've been thinking about writing a book for a long time, and I just sat down and wrote the book, and it took me about a month to write. And I mean, that's in terms of me actually sitting down and writing it, but I've been writing it mentally for so many years.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. So let's dive into the actual book, because this time will just before we know it.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on the context of the book
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. I'm going to just kind of share the titles of the chapters with folks. But really tonight, what I'd like to touch on is two things that intrigue. One, intrigues me about your book itself, and I think it's applicable to what we're experiencing right now. And two, how we can take this knowledge that you're presenting in your book and apply it to this specific time that we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have, the people are on fire on YouTube, and I'm loving that. We have so many fantastic comments. Someone, Dwina, she loves that you thought about how life works, not just how life is. That's a critical point. Another person here for you, Adriano, says you're one of the deepest brothers he's ever spoken to. Love that.
I love you, my brother.
Carolyn Parker, is that your mom? She says, love
That
you,
is
my son.
Hello, Mom. I love you, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom. So, yeah, we have so many comments, people here to support you, and that's awesome. You're obviously touching a lot of lives right now, and you have been. So let's talk about this book that you have, The New Religion. Why that title? Why that title?
All right. Well, first, I just want to establish for everyone that it's not me saying that I'm starting something, right? So trying to come up with some ism on my own. What it is that I believe that there is just one basic principle in terms of religion that we all need to govern our lives by. And it's the golden rule, but we know the golden rule as do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What I say is do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you. Right? So don't think anything in your mind or say anything to yourself that you would not have anyone else think of you or say to you in reality. And that's a very, very strong distinction that I feel that we all need to make, because some of us, we get caught up in negative thinking and we don't take ourselves off of the negative thinking. We just let it wind, and we think because we're only doing it in our minds that it's not going to have any effect on us.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything done in the dark eventually comes to the light.
That's one of the chapters in your book.
Yes.
Yes.
So do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you. Once we master that, then we can take our own unique creativity and create something that is a reflection of who we are as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concept of the new religion. It's just us as individuals taking that one basic principle, do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you, and then using that as a blueprint, as a guide to then create something based on what you are uniquely suited to do in this world.
Amen to that, because that's a position. And now I'm going to start digging into that, maybe a little uncomfortable for some folks who are watching, even for ourselves, with as much that we have been inspired with over the years. However, that's what I think a lot of us are facing right now. If we haven't been doing the self inventory, if we have not been doing that self work on a conscious level, even if we had intention, this is not a judgment, it's just the reality. There's a lot of people that have gotten caught up with life and now finding ourselves in a position where we actually do have that time to reflect on who we are. We actually do have that time to commune with the divine and really dig into the truth of who we are. Now is the time to face our shadows. Yes, we have faith, but that doesn't gloss over the things that we need to let go of in order to push through the time that we're living in right now. Now, what's going to knock your socks off, hopefully, because it just knocked my socks off, is I use this app called YouVersion, which is a Bible app. It's universal, it's non-denominational, it's just pure scripture. And then there are reading plans. Are you familiar with this app?
I am not.
Man, this has been my best friend for like 9 years.
Wow.
And today's story, believe it or not, today's scripture is exactly what you're talking about. This is not a coincidence. It's John 13:35. Love one another in the same way I love. Let me give you a new command.
Okay.
Love one another in the same way I loved you. You love one another. This is how everyone will recognize you're my disciples. So that's not a coincidence that that's the scripture for today.
No, it is not.
Okay. And you mentioned the golden rule, and that is something that I ascribe to as one of my core values. It's absolute faith in the golden rule. And the piece of it, I agree with you, that may be missing for a lot of us is it says, love one another as you love yourselves. We have to have that self-respect, and we're constantly looking outside of us for answers, and getting frustrated every single time because the answers are within, right?
Yes.
Man, I can't keep up with the comment stream, and I am loving that. It's just so many. Let's look at what the audience is saying. Dwina Calhoun, my mother would say that all the time. What's done in the dark will come to light. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Also, when you put others in the dark, it draws you to darkness. Very true. We have Ev Williams, profound thinking, Brother Lincoln, and wow, no coincidence.
Brother Ev.
Yeah, you have a nice fan base here going. So let's now go into the book itself. I'm going to pull it up. I have my Kindle open so that I can share some of the things that stood out for me, and perhaps we can expound on them and how we can apply it, this type of creative thinking, this type of conscious thinking, to our present day situation. Okay. So this one stood out for me also in the introduction of your book, The New Religion. Yes, we are co-creating realities with other individuals, but we cannot put the responsibility solely on others to conduct themselves with integrity. It's a powerful statement right there. I'm speaking directly with you. This is a dream for me to speak with the author of a book, because now I can get into what's behind that sentence. So can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, it comes from my understanding that we are all individually creating our own mini universe. And within the experience of that, we're going to interact and engage with others who are conducting and creating their own universes as well. right? What they see as right and what works for them is not always going to be what we feel is right and works for us. We have to allow to have that. We don't often do that. We don't often want to allow people the freedom and the space to make whatever decision is best for them. Whether or not that decision is one that is destructive, that's their business, right? We need to learn to stay out of people's business. That's their business. If we
Yes.
want to make sure that we are still living life in a way that is healthy and constructive for us, we have to be able to allow people to do the things that are best for them. We can't judge or try to cast aspersions on anyone else's actions and behavior.
Agreed. Agreed. And for me, I see this happens especially in intimate relationships where a spouse or a significant other may depend on that other person for their well-being, for their mental well-being, their emotional well-being, their physical well-being. And that's a slippery slope. It's a spiral that goes downward instead of upward.
Yeah.
In relation to the times we're living in, it actually made me think of, because of course I had to dive back into your book in preparation for, which is right on time for me. So thank you again for writing this book. So these words about not depending on someone else to solve the problem, also not depending on someone else to maintain integrity in solving the problem, it puts me right into the time frame that we're living in right now. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things we're saying, of course, may be easier to say and recite than practice, especially if it's someone who may be still in the earlier stages of building those resiliency muscles, building those faith muscles. So what would be your advice in terms of someone taking action in their own right for what we're going through today? How are you managing with that right now? How are you because you're in New York, yes?
Yes, I'm in New York.
Yeah. So what are the things that are carrying you through with the stresses that we're facing today?
Yeah, it is my core belief that nothing in the universe is meant to work against us. It's our own consciousness that perverts everything that's going on. And because we always have to receive a reflection of our true nature in order to keep us honest. You talked about integrity. In order to keep us honest, we're only entitled to a reflection of who we are as an individual. That goes back to the statement about all individually creating our own reality, and we can't always expect other people to uphold the integrity that we expect them to uphold. We are always, like I said, receiving a reflection of who we are. So under those circumstances, and just not thinking that the universe is working against me, it's always working for me and with me. Anytime I feel adversity or anything that challenges my level of comfort in any way, shape, or form, I turn that energy inward. And I say, okay, what is this telling me that I need to heal and fix about myself?
Mm-hmm.
It's never,
Mm-hmm.
let me not say never, because it's a continuous process just to keep reminding yourself to keep doing these things and keep maintaining to these disciplines. But I try very consistently to not project outwardly and to say to myself, okay, this is showing me something that I need to heal within myself. So right now, we're mostly in isolation. What is that telling me about myself? If I feel uncomfortable, it tells me that I'm uncomfortable with myself in some way, shape, or form, right? We're only ever dealing with ourselves anyway. Even if we're interacting with another person, that person, we can only view them through the perspective of our consciousness. So we're
Okay.
all seeing ourselves.
You slayed us with a mouthful right there, Mr. Parker. I mean, you said a lot right there. So, yes, and I agree with you, which is why we're co-facilitating this conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, yes, I agree. It takes inward reflection. It takes redirection of that energy from outward to inward. And that's one of the things that every single day, actually, I am asking myself and challenging myself, because I found myself, I'm going to be completely transparent, in the first 2 weeks of the official lockdown, because who knows when that actually started. Everyone has a different date that they're counting, apparently. But in the first 2 weeks that it started to affect this area, the DC metro area, I'm going to be honest, I started to get angry. I had feelings of anger. And I really had to, instead of allowing that feeling to swallow me up, or instead of pushing them aside and turning on Netflix for like 10 hours, no judgment, because I still do my binges. That's a whole nother part of the conversation.
Yeah.
However, I chose to face the anger. Why am I angry? And more importantly, what can I do about the anger? And that's where I had my paradigm shift, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the questions I started asking of the divine, which leads me to my next question for you. Is you mentioned, turning your energy inward, being a reflection or receiving as opposed to projecting. What are the practices? Do you have practices that you use to keep your mind primed the way it is? Because just listening to you, it sounds like you're like Neo and you're just walking around like seeing the Matrix and stuff. But in all seriousness, do you have any tools, practices that you use for this type of reflection?
Yeah, I actually took that comment very seriously. If you only knew how often I've watched The Matrix.
That's another thing we have in common.
Yeah, I watched that movie so many times. It is sort of like that. I see a lot of people talk about practices that they do for meditation. And for me, I've gotten to the point where I know that the sort of the steps that people do, the extra steps like the sitting down with your legs crossed Indian style and your fingertips pointed upward and you listening to the music. For me, it's I don't need to do that anymore because now what I understand is all you need to do is just align your mind with what it is that you would prefer to think.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's all meditation is. Once you can do that just walking down the street. When you feel a negative thought coming on, you balance that out. Right? A lot of us are in conflict with ourselves and we let the part of ourselves or the part of our mind that's thinking the things that we don't want to happen override and overwhelm what it is that we do want, because for many reasons we don't think that we're worthy, we don't think the rest of the world will give it to us, all of those kinds of things. So what I do is I've reached the point where I'm able to just understand nothing's working against me, it's always working for me. So to look at how to capitalize on the situation, how to find what it is that I'm being guided to do, because if this isn't working, then I'm not supposed to be trying to open that door.
Yes.
It's other door for me. That's not my door. My door is a different door. So just relax, calm down, and allow that door to reveal itself to me. Because often it's not about just trying to just bum rush through the universe like a bull in a china shop.
Right.
It's about just being calm, because the energy we put out is the energy that we're going to put back. So when you're in that situation where you're so frustrated, where you can't find the answer, you shouldn't keep looking for it. You need to calm down and relax so that answer can reveal itself to you in the nature of who you are. You don't want the nature, you don't want the answer revealing itself to you under duress and frustration, because the result that you're going to receive from applying that answer is going to make you even more stressful.
Yes.
Right? So relax, right? We're always getting a reflection of who we are, than who we are naturally, of the nature of our true selves. So if you want everything in your life to be peaceful and you want it to be calm, you want your experiences to be that way, then you have to calm yourself down.
Definitely so. I completely agree. And in this climate, this environment that we are currently finding ourselves in collectively, it's the best way I can phrase that right now, because this is a collective consciousness that's manifesting. And I see a shift. I'm doing my part to help with that shift of shifting collective consciousness to more so along the lines of what we're speaking, being aligned with higher power, being aligned with divine consciousness.
Yeah.
What you're sharing reminds me of, I'm constantly going back to the Bible, because even though I personally do not ascribe to any particular dogma, I don't believe in man-made religion. I do 100% believe in divine power. I do believe that there is a higher power that is holding all of this together, that's wiser than anything or anyone we will ever know. And so within those pages of the scriptures that I am familiar with, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. It's one of my favorites because it's those simple words are so profound along the lines of what you're just sharing. It doesn't take, even though the tools and the practices are perhaps necessary for some people, especially if you're just getting started with your connection, it takes we must use something to shift our focus from the chaos to the clarity. And so the tool and the avenue to get there is the practice. Yes. I'm similar to you, where I find myself in a meditative state constantly. Yeah. I still invest time to be still. However, my connection is a more of a constant connection, and that's through practice. And so I'm sharing this because a lot of people, especially in the scientific world, I'm trying to keep up with you all in the audience. Adriano says, so true. Everyone views a room differently. Sociologist looks for people. Plumber looks for pipes. Electrician looks for wires. Priest looks for God. That's a good point. I like that. We have Joanna says she needed to hear this. Love that. Love that you said that. Thank you for sharing. My sister's here. She's chiming in.
Hello, so Christine.
Guys, it's Kim Bless. And so before we continue, and I continue with that thought, I have to remember that we're live broadcasting from DC metro area to your homes all across the world. We're broadcasting from Listen Vision Studios in Washington, DC, WLVS Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's really great to be back on the airwaves and to have these types of conversations. We need these types of conversations right here, right now. For those of you that are tuned in on YouTube, thank you. God bless you. Your participation is just giving me goosebumps, because this is what feeds my soul, because it's the collective consciousness that bends reality. It starts within. However, doing this, where we're coming together on one accord, it's a powerful, powerful force. So thank you also for being here and for playing full out with us. Someone says, be still and know is their favorite scripture. So tonight, I should say, we're talking to Lincoln Parker, who is the author of The New Religion. And earlier in the conversation, if you missed it, he provided a little background of his story, why he wrote the book, and we're now kind of dissecting the principles from his book and applying them to our current times, because we are living in some chaotic times. It can seem that way, and I don't mean to put that lightly, because there are people who are experiencing loss, major losses during this time, including loss of life. And I keep my prayers, keep those people, those souls in my prayers. I keep the families in my prayers. I keep the people on the front lines and all of us who are dealing with this right now. And so tonight's conversation is really to provide a perspective to shift us from a fear-based mindset to a faith-based mindset, from a fearful mindset to a conscious mindset, from a fear-based mindset to a creative mindset, because to me, that is the foundation. A creative mindset is direct connection to the divine. That is where we receive the solutions that we are so desperately looking for, especially today. I know that I'm going to tell you, as much as I've been practicing, and I've been a practitioner for over 10 years, I was freaking angry, just angry to see the way things were unfolding. And the divine said to me, well, do something about it. Do something about it. And not just do something about it. I received the actual blueprint based on why I'm here, which is where we're going to go right now, is figuring out our role in this madness. Because a lot of us may look at one person and say, okay, they're doing that, so maybe I need to be doing that. And I think we kind of touched on this already, but I think I want to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to share another quote from your book. See, I didn't tell you everything I was going to talk about, Lincoln.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sneaky, sneaky.
I'm a sneaky, sneaky. Okay, so this is from the chapter titled, You Need the World to Reject You So That You Can Step Up Your Game. Love the titles of your chapters, by the way. So I'm going to read a couple. In this life, we are all responsible for fixing our own plate. Discomfort is a necessary part of the evolutionary process. If we are reluctant to grow willingly, then we will be forced to do so unwillingly. Let's start with that last one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mindset you have behind that principle there.
The universe is going to continue to grow and evolve with or without our help. That's the thing that we need to understand. So everything is in constant motion. That's hermeticism right there. So when you understand that being stagnant and complacent is not an option that any of us have. You see, so we need to find some way to be constructive and to contribute to the evolution of society. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves being essentially run over.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it'll be a part of the process, right? What happens, so you have right now, with all due respect to people who are unwell, but they're still contributing, right? You're contributing with advanced knowledge and awareness of how to be healthy. There has to be contrast at all times, right? We wouldn't know what health was unless we had sick people. You see, we wouldn't know that we were good unless we had people who were the opposite of good.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be contrast. So some people represent that contrast. And when they are on the destructive side of things, they have to receive a reflection of that. But the universe is still growing and evolving. Those of us who are moving constructively, we are learning from the destructive ways of the people who are conducting themselves destructively. So they're still contributing, right? But it hurts them.
Yes. Yes, I feel you on that. And it goes back to the other quote I mentioned about discomfort. There's a discomfort that we're experiencing right now. Some great comments are in the comment stream. One person, my bestie, says she absolutely must get this book. That's what I like to hear. Needs more eyes on those words for sure. Adriano mentioned that we seem to be differing in understanding. Mine is from my religious background, yours from self-empowerment. How would you address that?
Say that again.
Adriano says, both of you, speaking of you and I, seem to be differing in understanding. Sister, your understanding stems from your religious background, while Brother Parker's stems from self-empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perspective on that?
I think it depends on perspective, right? I think we're all saying the same thing, essentially, if our objective is to grow and evolve and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. Like we can all read the Bible and still get different things from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our understanding of it will be constructive still, right? So we don't have the same perspective and the same interpretation, right? We can still take it and move forward. I know people who believe in a God that lives in space who are very successful. You know, and so does it that doesn't take anything away from them. There are a lot of unconscious competence is a word.
Yes.
Yeah, that Bob Proctor uses, a
Yes.
term that Bob uses, unconscious competence. So just because they don't know the science, right, doesn't mean that they can't still take their understanding of whatever the teachings are, the principles are, and still become successful.
Sure. And Adriano, thank you for your comment. I'm in agreement with you. I believe there are differences in understanding, and I agree with you, Lincoln, that it's different avenues. Dwina says it. It's different avenues. We each have a different learning style. We each have a different background in our upbringing. And so I find that the divine will utilize things that we can recall and reframe it to more align with truth, with divine truth. And so for me, a lot of the principles, if not all of them, I'm in complete alignment with you. Oh, you wouldn't be on my show. But seriously, I do align with you on the principles of your book. And for me, I'm at a stage in my journey where the Christ consciousness and how it aligns with that new thought, how they are parallel. That's where I am in my journey right now.
Yeah,
So,
just to clarify, I wasn't trying to call you an unconscious competent.
oh no, I didn't take it that way. I didn't take it that way. I responded that way because I'm very familiar with those 4 stages of competence. A lot of people are in that initial stage. And we are moving towards, of course, consciously competent, conscious
Really
competence.
quick, just to touch on something that you said, right? In terms of how the information meets us. Neville
Mhm.
Goddard said something that I found very profound years ago. He said, when you see God, he will look like you, right? In other words,
Mm.
the information can only come to us through a channel that we respect, right? So whatever we've grown up and been conditioned to or taught to see value in, that's how the information is going to come to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to reach us along established channels.
Yes, yes. High five, honey. High five on that, or dap, dap, whatever you need to do to stay, stay true. But we on the same exact page, and that's really what I wanted to come out tonight. Whether or not it is Lincoln's words that move you to reset that creative mindset, whether or not it's his specific words, it's the thoughts, it's the ideas. Creative April, you hit it on the head. It's all connected because at the lowest common denominator, regardless of which path, is love. Love is the new religion. And that's why I love the name of your book. I love the name of your book because the new religion is love. The new religion is not dogma. The new religion is not spiritual practices. The new religion is not standing up at a pulpit. The new religion is in here. The new religion is this. This right here to me is church. This is church
Yeah.
because we're coming together to talk about and uphold, not just talk about, uphold and advocate for divine truth. Because
Yes,
this is what we need. This is what our world needs to set ourselves free from all this craziness that's going on around us. It's up to us. We each have been implanted and blueprinted with a specific task, and we just get still. I think that's the biggest thing that came out of this conversation tonight is just getting still to receive that. And it's a learned behavior. It's over time it becomes a more conscious practice. There are tools that I can recommend to use if you're finding that being still may be an issue. One that I recommend is Insight Timer. It's an app. Insight Timer is free. There are tons of guided meditations, silent meditations, musical meditations. There are courses and everything is free. You can upgrade, but you don't have to. It's a fantastic community. I just had to show them some love because I love that app. You know what? That's my sister right there. She's right. Ziggy Marley has a song, Love is My Religion, and that's my religion too. That's the only label I choose is love. Joanna says this is the perfect time to drop this information. So true. Love will heal us and the world. Be still and receive. Okay. So we are almost at the top of our hour. This time, where does it go?
I don't
One of
know.
your chapters in your book, I have a hashtag that I've created on Instagram and I'm now announcing it publicly. I've been on Instagram since 2012 and I've created all these hashtag stories. And one of them is hashtag the truth about time.
Yeah.
And you have a chapter in your book that addresses time, and time won't afford us in this moment to dive into that. But I just wanted to holla about that because time to me is something that a lot of people may get caught up in where it causes more of a distraction than progress. Would you
Mm.
agree?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I just have. If I'm a little distracted, it's only because I have to get my charger because my phone is dying.
That's okay. I told you this is a casual conversation. This is as if we're all just in the living room and just having a good old rap session.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the name of this chapter, y'all. Too much real estate being taken up here. There's a time. No, time is the only currency. Time is the only currency is the name of that. We have about 2 minutes to expound on that because that will feed my geeky soul. Let's talk about time and how that relates to what's happening right now. Because
Yes.
people are talking about, I have all kinds of time. People are saying we're running out of time. People are saying this is the end of times. What's your
Mhm.
perspective on time and how it relates to right now?
When I when I when I said that time is the only currency, it came from the perspective of regardless of how much money you have, what's ultimately going to decide the rate of your return on investment is how you best utilize your time, right? One of my favorite quotes that I've ever seen on Instagram is, "We all have the same amount of hours in the day as Beyonce."
Yes.
You see? So it's not that she has more hours in the day to do all of the things that she does. She just maximizes those hours. And because of that, we see the return on investment that she's been able to generate.
Yes. Yes, agreed. That's putting it in a nutshell. It's not the time itself, it's what we're utilizing and doing in these moments of time. The only time is now. The
Mhm.
only time is actually in this present moment.
Yeah.
Um, One of my most profound mindset mentors, who I absolutely adore, he was actually a co host on season 3 of this show, Dr. Manny St. Victor. One of the
Okay.
most profound statements about time, he says, time only exists in relationships.
Hmm.
And I agree with that. I believe that time is reflected in the people we're connected with. It provides milestones, our markers for our
Yeah.
lives. It propels our lives. It can hold back our lives. So I think the connections are definitely directly tied to time. And
Yeah.
from my perspective, relating it to our current situation here is, yes, we have all kinds of time. In my opinion, watching time, it actually hinders our progress. When we watch calendar
Mhm.
time, my encouragement is to, again, align with the divine for the proper allocation of our time. I can't say that enough. It always
Yeah.
goes back to meditation. In my studies that I've been doing since last year, people are like, "What are you learning?" I'm studying metaphysics, and they're, "What are you learning?" I'm learning how to connect more deeply every
Yes.
day. That's it. There's no seance. There are no fancy words. There's no rote or ritual. It's just all about maintaining connection to the divine. That's my answer.
My brother Ev, who I'm not sure if he's still in here, but he said something that was really profound one time, and he said that time is measured in growth, right?
Mm,
So we could essentially be growing older and traveling in terms of years and months on a calendar, right? But you'll be stuck in a perpetual time loop if you aren't growing and evolving as an individual.
amen.
A good friend of mine said that you can always tell a heroin addict because his style of clothes will be from that era that he got hooked.
Hmm, hmm.
You know?
That's a
So,
good perspective.
yeah.
That's a good
So
perspective.
so I know a guy, his style of clothing is always around that mid 90s with the extra baggy NBA jackets and the NBA jeans. And he's
Yeah,
still wearing those if it's still that time.
so true. That's
Mhm.
evidence right there that time is relative, very
Yeah.
relative.
So it's a man-made construct is just basically the bottom line of it. It's a man-made construct. There is no, as you said, time. The only time is now because yesterday is gone and tomorrow never comes. That's Reverend Ike.
Amen. Amen. Brother Parker, you know my brother, man. This has been so energetic. I knew it would be. I am so honored that you chose to invest this time, not just with me, but everyone who's participating. Thanks to everyone out there, you all on YouTube, all of you tuned in on WLVS radio. Thank you so much for your energy, for being present. If you feel that this conversation can be beneficial to someone in your life, definitely share. The replay is going to be available right here on Clb Live Tv. For those of you watching on WLVS radio, you can also watch the replay on WLVS radio on YouTube, as well as Clb Live Tv. Lincoln, any closing thoughts to leave with our viewers tonight, and how can we get in touch with you?
Yes, so just everyone, I love you. I am always here for any and all of you. I am very grateful to you, Christine, for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you and your audience and just be able to share some of the things that I've learned over the years and things that have helped me become a much more rounded individual and a much more evened out individual, much more aligned with what it is that I want to do in life. And for anyone, if there's the book, there's the New Religion, it's available on Amazon right now. You can also, if you interested in coaching services, you can reach me at coach.lincolnparker@gmail.com. Just reach out and email me and set up a consultation. And that's pretty much it. Thank you once again, Christine. I'm very much in favor and appreciation, deep appreciation of everything that you're doing with your platform. And I wish you nothing but continued success.
Oh, thank you so much. I wish the same for you, my brother. I just shared a screenshot of the Amazon page for ordering your book. I'll be sure to include that so everyone can access you and your information that you've shared. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for following that spirit from within. Thank you for pouring into all of us, all of this consciousness. I had to do my part to get this out here because you have put a huge dent in this universe by producing that work. And I know that this is just the beginning for what you're going to be sharing with us moving forward. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Christine. All the best.
It's my pleasure. So, folks, there you have it. I am so thrilled about this conversation tonight. It was off the chain. I cannot wait to watch the replay because while I'm doing what I'm doing, I know I can miss pockets of information. So I personally am looking forward to the replay. Thanks for tuning in tonight. PJ, thank you for supporting us behind the scenes. That's our engineer over at Listen Vision Studios. Much love to my Listen Vision family. Much love from my home to your home. Please be safe, be well, stay conscious, and let creativity rule, honey. Until next time, this is CLB signing out. One love.